Sports presents Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Another episode of Benning Bites. Thanks for being a part of what we do. However you get us, Google, Apple, Spotify. We really appreciate it. And we need you fine folks because it's what makes us go. Otherwise, kind of a lot like this episode, I would just be talking to myself. Anyway, like heck of a show we had yesterday. I mean, a lot going on with what I'm now just affectionately dubbing, not super creative, but it is what it is. It's Rhules of Engagement, Rhules engagement, because there's definitely a pattern now. And the funny thing is, I think you fine folks are all in on it now too. As skeptical as we want to be, I get it. But man, if you're like, making a list and checking it twice, he is definitely a lot less naughty and a lot more nice, right? He knows what the heck he's doing and what he's saying, and I definitely think it's intentional. It's opening day today, so I'm pretty pumped about that. And baseball is going to be interesting because I think it's super top heavy in terms of the top 15, 16. But it's weird because a lot of these teams are in the same division. Obviously, the AL West, right? The Astros, the usual player. But who knows? Maybe this is the year for the Mariners. I think the Mariners are a top 11 or 12 team in baseball. They had a pretty good offseason. I think they'll get Castillo and Kirby, and they'll be healthy. They've got Teoscar Hernandez and A.J. Pollock. And I mean, who knows? But, man. I mean, how difficult is it going to be for what's going on in the NL East with the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets? Those are really probably three of the best 10 teams in baseball, and they're all in the same division. You go to the West where you have two of the top 5 teams in baseball, I think, with the Dodgers and the Padres, which is going to be sensational. And will the East live up to the hype? They've fallen off just a little bit because I don't think anybody in the East is in the top 5 or 6. But you could make the case for, let's say, the Yankees, the Rays, and the Jays maybe being like 8, 9, 10? Somewhere around there, 8, 9, 10? So all those good teams in the American League East. And we asked yesterday, we were talking to Ryan Fagan about Major League Baseball and windows that have closed potentially, or who's closer to having their windows closed. Between two teams we've heard a ton about the last 4 or 5 years that don't have a lot of hardware to show for it, and that was the Chicago White Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers. And he went with the White Sox in terms of their window being closer to being closed just because of the expectation level and where they've been. And they got to score runs, so that kind of sounds a lot like the Brewers. So it's going to be fantastic. And how does the competitiveness of what's going on in baseball with the rule changes? I'm excited, and I love baseball. I know it's crazy. It's actually probably my favorite sport. It's definitely the one in which I felt like I could play the best, but those days have come and gone. But anyway, fantastic show coming up today. We're going to get back into, obviously, with baseball and opening day. We'll have predictions, our kind of preseason awards, and what we're thinking. But more on this Rhules of Engagement and what are the Pacific, like the ocean, like Indian and Atlantic. But what specifically are the boxes that you find folks are checking off where you're like, yeah, yep. Because he said a couple things the other day, and I'm like, is he getting the benefit of the doubt? Is he confident or is he delusional? Right? Because He seemed to be okay with like 12 scholarship offensive linemen, and he gave you a couple of guys that could maybe pull up the rear. And people thought he was crazy. But do I give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he's pretty smart? And his history is he hasn't had a lot of depth. He didn't have a ton of O-line depth at Temple. Didn't have a ton of O-line depth at Baylor. He's certainly not used to having more than 12 guys that are able to play in the NFL. You're fortunate to get 7 guys ready in the NFL. So is that experience shows him if you get certain guys ready, you can play it this way? Or is he delusional because it's the Big Ten Conference and you better have some offensive linemen? I don't know. I just think it's funny, right? Because the goodwill and the sweat equity that he's picking up is very interesting. He didn't come across as panicking. It's not like, oh my gosh, we only have 12 offensive linemen. He almost made a case for it, even though he knows good and well he'd probably like to have 3 or 4 more minimum, right? That's just part of the rules of engagement. Is it checkers or chess? Are we too gullible? Fudge! I'm going to stop fighting it. I'm just going to watch it play out and deem it as it may and keep checking off the boxes that I want to see happen in the preseason that he's continuing to knock out. All that and more. We appreciate it. Give my partner Andrew Rogers a follow at Andrew Rogers TV. I'm at Damon Benning. Keep the questions coming. Right? Whatever you find folks want to know. If you just had 5-6 minutes to pick my brain, where are we at? A lot of you folks wanted to talk baseball. We're going to do baseball. Because if you like it, I love it. That's just how it goes. It's another episode of Benning Bites.